Okay, welcome everyone to the Skills Workshop Virtual Careers Fair. For those of you who have been here before and followed the programme since June, welcome back. And to anyone joining for the first time, welcome to T. Rowe Price. So a quick reminder, the Skills Workshop was created to give you the skills, knowledge and insight you need to prepare for a career within asset management. In September and October, we're running 41 careers fairs featuring firms across the industry, and all of our workshops are free to register. Excuse me. The details are in the chat box. So to introduce myself, my name is Kavita Bala. I work in the talent acquisition team here at T. Rowe. I've been here with the firm for 5 years, and my role is essentially to hire talent into the firm. And more recently, I've been focusing on how we can hire early talent in. I'm also joined by my colleagues, James Rendell and Saeed Hussain, and I'll ask them to introduce themselves now. So James, do you want to start?
Hi, good evening, everyone. I've been at T. Rowe Price now for 2.5 years. I work on the same team as Kavita and the talent acquisition team, primarily supporting the investment and distribution teams, but also working in collaboration with Kavita on early careers and early talent.
And Saeed.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Saeed. I've been at T. Rowe 7 years next week, in fact, and I work in Consultant Database Group, which is part of product in T. Rowe Price and supporting distribution. And I'm here because I was once an apprentice 7 years ago.
Thank you, Saeed. Thank you, James. So just a quick reminder to everyone, this is a webinar. We won't see your faces, but please do use the Q&A function to ask us any questions, and we'll try to get through as many of those as we possibly can. So you'll see that we have shared a deck, so we'll just talk through a little bit about T. Rowe and introduce who we are. So T. Rowe Price was founded in 1937, which we'll be able to see on the next slide. There we go. We are a global firm with our headquarters based in Baltimore. Sorry, I almost said Birmingham then. Our headquarters based in Baltimore, and we have 23 offices in major cities across the globe, with our regional headquarters for EMEA based in London. As you can see on this slide, we have $1.623 trillion of client assets under management. And what that means is that the total value of the money that we are investing on behalf of our clients is $1.623 trillion. This makes T. Rowe one of the top 20 largest investment management firms globally. So what do we do? Our mission is to help clients around the world achieve their long-term investment goals. So we essentially work to help our clients grow their savings. We have around 7,000 employees working to help people save and grow their money across the world by picking good stocks and bonds. And our clients range from individual people to large institutions like pensions, and to help people save for what is important to them. You'll see this is a photo of our founder, Mr. Thomas Rowe Price. And just to read that quote, the success of a firm such as ours is dependent upon its personnel. Personality, tact, and a sincere desire to help and please clients are essential. I want, as associates, people who share my fundamental beliefs and who are conscientious, hardworking, and progressive. So just to tell you a bit more about T. Rowe and our missions and values, we've talked about the mission of our company, so we'll talk a little bit about our values. So T. Rowe Price values behaviours that we put into place and demonstrate our mission. So what do each of these statements mean? So we'll look first to put clients first, We work to be a principled firm and justify their trust in us, to act with integrity and accountability. So essentially we're practicing ethical behaviour, to cultivate intellectual curiosity and innovation. So behaving as lifelong learners and always trying to improve our services. Embrace diversity and collaboration. So we're a highly collaborative organisation, and we recognise the need for diversity of thought to be successful. Be disciplined and risk aware. So we don't follow the crowd. We are about being thoughtful and considered with all of our decisions. And pursue excellence with passion and humility. So this is about us being committed to always doing better. And it's this expectation that T. Rowe Price Associates will live these values every day. I'm going to hand over to James to talk a bit more about some of the departments of T. Rowe.
Yes, thank you, Kavita. Yeah, I'm going to talk you through the various departments of T. Rowe Price. I think the most obvious place to start is our investments division. The products that we are producing as an investment management house is the investment research that we're sort of putting in place and what we're doing for our clients. The investment group is responsible for portfolio management, and this includes carrying out research and then the development of new products. For much of the firm's history, this has meant mutual funds. It's diversifying a little bit more so these days. But the research, development, creation, and portfolio management is fundamental to what we do. Within this, the overall investments division, there are a variety of asset classes that we invest into, so fixed income, equities, and then we have multi-asset portfolios as well. This is also across a variety of sectors and geographies as well, and we have investment professionals across the US or North America rather, EMEA and Asia Pacific. And we've got a photo there of our head of investments, Rob Sharps. The next department that I'll give you a little bit of an overview of, and Saeed might even be able to give a little bit more detail on this, is global distribution. So this is the function that manages the relationships with our client bases and is responsible for what is known as raising assets for our funds, but it's in short that the sort of sales, marketing, and kind of relationship management function of the organization. Similarly to investments, we have regionally focused distribution professionals, and they are sort of focused within different client segments as well. So we've got these listed here on the right hand side in financial institutions, financial intermediaries, advisors, and then more so in the US, individual retail investors and retirement plan sponsors. Moving on to a few areas that I'll talk you through, and we've broken these down into protecting the firm and supporting the firm. So under protecting the firm, we have our legal and compliance functions and our CFO group. These, as they sort of say on the tin, are responsible for protecting the organization. Financial services, as I'm sure you're all very well aware, is highly regulated. And these groups are the ones responsible for ensuring that what T. Rowe Price does remains within regulation. Within the CFO group is where our finance, risk and accounting functions sort of sit. And then under supporting the firm, we have one of our largest and most quickly growing groups, the Global Technology Group. And I don't think they need much of an introduction, but their responsibility is obviously all of the technology, both software and hardware, that is used at T. Rowe Price, and then the human resources group, which is where Kavita and I sit. And again, this is responsible for all things people, both recruitment, as well as once people are kind of onboarded and brought into the firm. Moving on slightly, just to touch upon diversity and inclusion, we've got a statement here that our people are our greatest assets, and I think that's so true. At T. Rowe Price, diversity and inclusion is very important to us. We're eager to have as diverse a workforce as possible, and in order to do that, we aim to create as an inclusive environment as possible for our associates. One of the key elements in doing this are the 3 business resource groups that operate within the region, listed here. So WAVE mission rather is to help us attract, develop, advance and retain talented and principled women. Pride at T. Rowe Price ensures all lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender associates are comfortable bringing their full selves to work. And Mosaic at T. Rowe Price advances cultural diversity to help associates and the firm succeed. So these are employee groups that are founded, I believe, and run by associates of the firm with those missions in mind. I'm just going to hand back to Kavita to give a brief overview of the sort of early careers options at T. Rowe Price.
Thank you, James. And I'll just add on your point about the diversity and inclusion and some of those groups that we have here at T. Rowe. Anybody can be a member of those groups, and even those that don't want to be members but still want to learn about them, you can still participate in some of the events that we have. So for example, the Pride event, we often have an event that goes on. We'll join the Pride parade, and I think pre-pandemic we had a float or a bus that we did through the parade. We had lots of T. Rowe associates all across the firm join and attend, which was a really fun event. And we do various different events for those different business resource groups that is open to everybody in the firm, not just its members, which again is just part of us trying to be as inclusive as possible. So thank you, James, for moving on to the next slide, which is essentially an overview of the different career paths eligible for you. So I'll start with the apprenticeship, which Saeed can talk to you about in more detail shortly. But essentially, it's an opportunity for those who may not have access through the standard recruitment process. So for those who don't know what an apprenticeship is, in the UK, an apprenticeship is a system of training a new generation of practitioners of a trade or profession with on-the-job experience and often some accompanying study. We essentially have we've run this program since 2014, I believe, and we are looking to take new apprentices through with positions in 2022, and we work with a charity known as ELBA, the East London Business Alliance, who will manage our applications. So if you're interested in an apprenticeship, which Saeed will go into a bit more detail in shortly, then please do visit ELBA's website or email them to talk about how you can join an apprenticeship with T. Rowe Price. I'll talk to you a little bit about our other early entry routes. So we have an internship. Now, our internship is open for students studying a degree at university, and those students would be in their penultimate year of study. The internship is an 8-week summer programme, and those that are successful will be able to join the firm on a permanent basis following completion of their degree. Sorry, James, just checking out. You can move to the next slide so you can see Thank you. Currently, we accept interns across our investments division as well as our technology business. And we currently work with a company called the Bright Network, who manage all of our internship applications. So if you are interested, please visit either our careers page or visit the Bright Network for more information. And then we also have a graduate program. So currently we have a graduate program across technology. This is actually a new program that we started this year. And I personally am currently working with James at looking at how we can send up internships and graduate programs across other areas of the business. So what I'm going to do now is introduce you to Saeed. So Saeed, I'll hand over to you. Perhaps you can give us a bit more of a deeper overview in terms of how you joined T. Rowe Price, the route that you took to get here, and a bit about your journey and the apprenticeship experience.
Hi everyone. So I joined, as it says there, I joined T. Rowe Price as an apprentice in 2014, and it was actually the first time T. Rowe Price had ever it was the first apprentice they'd ever hired, and it was definitely an eventful year. So a little bit more background around that. So it was two of us that joined at the same time. I went, the other apprentice joined on the technology side, and I joined, which was supposed to be for trading. So I sat with the trading desk when I first started, to which over time they sort of gotten to the point where they realized they were quite limited in how much an apprentice can support them or get much exposure from, simply because of the nature of the job versus the level of qualification that I have. It's, being a regulated firm and everything, trading isn't something you can take very lightly, which was a good thing for me. And I think it was a good thing for the program, because it meant that I shifted around to various different departments throughout the firm. And I actually think I listed them the other day, and it turned out I think it was almost like 10 or 11 different departments that I'd worked in, which, now thinking about it, it gave me such a broad exposure to what an asset management firm is, what T. Rowe is, and it really removed that sort of stereotypical view of what a financial firm is. Thinking back now, I think there was like an article that they had asked me to put a quote in for, and one of the questions was, did T. Rowe live up to your expectations? And I think at the time, Wolf of Wall Street was one of the films that had come out, and everyone was sort of like, yeah, that's what working in the city is like. It's trading crazy and whatnot. But it really wasn't. It was nothing anywhere near that. It was so much more calmer, so much more professional, so much more. It was just a complete different experience, and those values that Kavita mentioned earlier on, where you could tell that they were there instantly. So I think overall I worked in trading, PMG, which is Portfolio Modeling Group, trading support. I then went off to work with investment liaisons which is within investments. And then I hopped around to compliance, which is something that James had mentioned about protecting the firm. So I did investment compliance, and then I went off to work back into investments, but on the fixed income side. So we've got equity and fixed income. And then I eventually made my way down to distribution, and I worked along with client reporting. I then went off to work with relationship managers and also client onboarding and a few others in between. And then I eventually got my position, got offered a position in the client reporting team, which I spent 3 years sort of learning and developing and doing whatnot. And then eventually I moved on to the role I'm in now, which is a consultant database analyst.
And so, sorry,
Yeah.
can I ask you, you mentioned all those different departments that you worked in. Was that part of your apprenticeship program?
Yes and no. So what had happened, again, this is quite early on, so apprenticeships have changed massively from what it used to be to what it is now. Now we're very much, we tailor it to a department. So you mentioned those roles earlier, what was it, public relations, RFP, I believe it's digital
Yes.
technology, I think it is.
Yes.
So it wasn't part of it, my moving around, but it helped me massively because it also meant that I could use a lot of the information as part of the apprenticeship qualification, which I did one, which was a business admin one, and then I also did industry qualification, which massively helped me in securing a position here, and it taught me so much that I know now as well, which was the IOC.
And did the industry qualification you do, was that part of your apprenticeship?
It wasn't at the time, but it is now.
Okay.
So those that came in after me, they obviously, because it was T Rowe's very first time doing it, it was it was an experience for them, it was an experience for me, and that's why I say it was a good thing for the program and myself, because it was a way for us to learn how to make sure the next cohort that came in, which was now 5 years ago, that Jess was here actually, yeah. So it's been tremendous for us. I think we've had in terms of like 10 apprentices so far. We've got 2 at the moment, so yeah.
And you mentioned that you're now working in the consultant database team, so that's
correct.
You secured your permanent position in following your apprenticeship?
No, that is not. No, it's so I started off in client reporting, which is part of distribution now, I believe, and then I went off to work. So I did that, and it was basically preparing pitch books for client meetings. So I had a lot of interaction with those that are in sales, got to understand what they do, how they do it, and it was really sort of eye-opening to see what I was making and sort of seeing. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go to the meetings, but I did get to hear about how they would sort of run the meetings and what they would do with the pitch books and whatnot, and how useful they are. Also did separate account meetings, so specific client meetings. So they're used both for winning business and maintaining business. So it's a combination of things that you have to do. And then eventually I went on to work for the team I'm in now, which supports a particular strand of consultant, which is consultant relations.
And you've obviously been able to take an internal move, which is great. Would you say that that's something that's easy to do at T Rowe? Is it something that you would encourage people to consider doing in their career? What kind of feedback and advice would you give to people who are starting out in their career, early on in their career journey?
I'll definitely recommend, if you can move somewhere internally, do it. It's one of those things where people assume that you maybe can't, or you get pigeonholed, or you can't move around. But it's definitely something that is doable. It's something worthwhile taking and doing, and it keeps you motivated, I'd say. And one of the biggest things that I think that's helped me to move forward is that first philosophy, or that first value of ours, which is putting clients first. Having that in mind, it makes you think on what you could do better, or what you could do next, and not in a sort of selfish way. It's more of a, I know I've got a set of skills, and I know that I can help I can help do a better job for the wider team, for the wider firm, which externally goes out to be very good for the clients. So yes, I definitely think it's not a difficult thing to do, to move within internal positions, and I highly recommend it, because it just shows how willing you are to go the extra mile and help build that vision for the firm. And plus, you meet so many great people on the way. Everyone at T Rowe is definitely one of those people. I can say personally, ever since I've been an apprentice to now, people are always asking me, what I'm up to, if I ever need advice, there isn't a person that I can't go to. People are usually quite scared to approach other, even senior members of staff. But for me, especially at T. Rowe Price, I'm sure Kavita and James probably agree with me. It's not something difficult to do.
Thanks, Saeed. And thinking about your journey that you've taken, you mentioned that you've been with us almost 7 years. So happy anniversary in advance.
Thank you. Can I say, it doesn't actually feel like it's been 7 years. To this day, I still remember my very first day at T. Rowe Price. And it's quite surreal sometimes when you sit and you watch and you look at everything around you and you're like, I wasn't here that. I mean, if to me people are coming up saying congratulations, and I'm like, well, you got here. Don't try to push me out now.
It goes by quickly. What I was going to ask you is, what advice would you give to your younger self now that you look at your journey 7 years on? Excuse me, I'm losing my voice.
No, that's fine.
What advice would you give to yourself to go back in time 7 years?
I think that's a very difficult one sometimes, because I wouldn't change anything that I've done. What I would probably say is I would continue to encourage myself to continue to keep asking questions, to continue to have that fire in your belly to try and achieve better. So I'm someone who's come from a background where I probably wouldn't have found myself here as quickly as I did, and I wouldn't say for as long, but as quickly as I did, because I'm personally from Bethnal Green, Tower Hamlets, where no one in my family works in finance. My older sister, who's only 7 years older than me, was the first one in our family to go to university as well. So for us, it was like, my mum always said to me, "Oh, try to get a job in the office," and that in an office, and that was it. Like, she didn't specify what, but all she knew that if you got a job in the office, it was good enough. So for me, one of those things for me is always never give up on what you're trying to achieve. Doesn't matter what background you come from. Don't let your light be sort of dimmed down because you feel as though you shouldn't be somewhere. So I would say definitely keep the confidence and the fire in your belly. I would say keep asking questions, keep trying to learn. I think one of the things that I would say is when you stop trying to learn, it makes you become quite stale, and not in just your sort of career, but also, just in general, it just doesn't do you any good to stop and stand still. I mean, if the earth stood still, we know what happened. We've watched that film, I'm sure. But the point is, even to this day, for a long time, I did say, I chose to do the apprenticeship thinking that I didn't want to go to university. I didn't want to pay all that debt. I wanted to sort of get cracking on working and whatnot. But, that changed my view from being here, because it just sort of showed me that, education doesn't stop when you leave school, when you finish university. You're continuously evolving, continuously learning something new every day. So yeah, my advice would be simply keep trying to educate yourself, keep yourself confident, but not too confident, not overly confident, and definitely don't let anyone dim your light. Like, don't let anyone hold you back. You can do whatever you want to achieve.
Thanks, Zoe. That's great advice, very motivational. And I think on your point about education doesn't stop, it's a very valid point. I think we at T. Rowe have various training courses that we can attend internally. People can also support our associates to attend external training courses to continuously learn and develop themselves, and I think we're very supportive in that sense. And Saeed, I'm sure you've since qualifying, since completing your apprenticeship, I'm sure there's other training that you've participated in.
I have. I've actually just finished this summer. I just graduated from university as well.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I've been doing that for 5 years as well. So I think that's mainly one of the reasons. I mean, T. Rowe is an excellent firm, and like Kavita said, education is is a huge, there is no, I don't think there's any manager at TRO, if you turn to them and said, oh, I would like to do an internal or an external qualification of any sort, whether it's you go to university, you go get a master's, we have programs in place where even, I think, because I did 5 years, but if you were to do a 3-year course, a 3-year university course, I think it's 2/3 of it gets paid off by a TRO price as long as you meet the criteria. But that's something that they offer at TRO price to permanent staff. But they offer loads of other opportunities and qualifications for you to go out and do. So yeah, definitely.
Great, thank you. James, over to you.
Yeah, we've had quite a few questions come through. What I might do is kind of pick one of you, and then if the other has some thoughts on it. But the first one we had come through is, what is the work-life balance like, and what hours do you typically work? Kavita, do you want to pick that one up?
Yeah,
and decide if you've got any thoughts, perhaps you can chip in.
Yeah, I think we can all perhaps.
Definitely.
We all do different roles, and even you and I, James, I know we work in the same team, but our roles can be very different. So I think work-life balance is great. It's probably the best of any firm that I've worked at, and I've worked at a few financial services firms in the city. What I love about TRO is that I feel that I can, that I have the flexibility. We're treated as adults essentially to be able to do our job. So if I need to finish a bit earlier one day because I've got something else on, that's fine. Rarely do I work late. I mean, I'm working slightly later tonight because I'm here with you. But that's actually great fun as well, and it's nice to add that to my day. I'd say our core hours are 9 till 5, and I'll often work 9 till 5. Sometimes I'll work a bit longer if I want to because I've got tasks that I need to meet. But I'd say it's rare that I put in late hours. I don't think I've ever worked past 7 p.m. And if I have worked up until that time, it was a choice. Saeed, what do you think?
I definitely agree with you. I think working at TRO Price, work-life balance is, I mean, I've only worked at TRO Price, but just like Kavita said, she's worked at loads of other places. I know loads of people that are now joining other firms, and, I've got people that my peers essentially, because obviously now they're starting to go to university and whatnot, and they're telling me about their work-life balance. And I think mine is definitely, or ours at TRO Price is definitely a lot better than everyone else's. Personally, me, I work in a global team, so my manager actually sits in the US. I'm the only one in London, and then we've got a counterpart. There's a counterpart of me in Australia, and so we do have to be quite flexible at times. But we're also given, as much as we're flexible, our managers and our team members are just as flexible around us. So there have been times where I'll be on a call at 7 o'clock in the morning, but at the same time, it means my manager's fine for me to adjust my hours and make sure I have the autonomy to work on whatever I need to work on, and then finish whenever I need to finish. So no one's ever come to me and said, you need to work these hours. So I think it's been more of a, would you like to do this? If you can't do it, that's fine. We'll choose another time. Or if you can do it, it'll be brilliant. And you sort of feel, you don't feel obligated, but you feel as though, I can make this effort because other team members want to make this effort with me as well. So, you sort of, I want to say you become a bit of a family. Like, you never say no to family, do you? So I think that's basically what I would say about home life, work-life balance. So I'd say it's different. And plus, for someone who's been at uni for the last 5 years, I had to go to uni after work. So I would finish bang on at 5. And, my manager sometimes would even understand that if I came in an hour early, she'd be like, you can leave an hour early, and that way you can get to uni on time, or, whether it's, wherever I can get the time, they're very supportive of things like that. So I'd say work-life balance is terrific here.
And I'll just add that the question was particular for junior employees. I don't think it really matters what level you are in the firm. Our work-life balance, I think, stretches across to all levels and all departments.
Yeah.
Can I just add something to that? Oh yeah, sorry, James, go ahead.
I was just going to add, I think the key thing is, everyone you feel you work with at T. Rowe Price, you get the impression that they've got a conscientious approach to the work that they're doing, and whether they need to make their work fit around their life, it's not a case that their work will dominate their life. They'll have a good balance in it, but if someone needs to pick up kids from school or drop kids off in the morning, there's that balance to it that that the work will get done when they've within the time frame expected. So I think the word balance is really the key thing. Sorry, did you want to add anything, or should we move on?
We can move on.
Cool. The next question we've got is, do you have any client-facing roles for juniors?
I can take this one if you want, or if you don't mind.
Go for it.
I would say, obviously, there are junior roles for a relationship manager, which is an associate relationship manager, an RMA, a relationship manager associate. But typically what happens is you would find yourself, you need a little bit of experience before you can get into a very junior role. So typically a lot of people that I know that have worked in relationship manager roles, and I know this because that's somewhere I want to head towards, is typically people start in client reporting and then they will sort of move their way up to it. And that's mainly because you need the experience and exposure to how things function around. And also to become an RM, you need certain qualifications of, I think it's an IMC, am I right in saying that? Because you need to be qualified to be able to talk to clients about investments and so forth. So you need to have a certain level of exposure, to education there. So that's something that I'm working towards now that I finished my degree. I mean, you don't need your degree to do it, but I am. That's the sort of next step for me now that I finished the degree. Hopefully next year, by end of next year, I would have that qualification. I can sort of head towards that direction a little bit more. I mean, to a degree, I also have exposure to clients, but on a more of a indirect platform.
And sorry, you mentioned that you've got exposure to clients. Do you speak to them directly at all, or?
So due to the nature of my role being a consultant database analyst, so what it is consultant firms out there. So you've got the likes. So I believe eventually on this road trip there will be Mercer and LCP is two people that I work closely with. They've got databases where they want T. Rowe Price's information on there. And for that to happen, I've got to collate all of our information on all our products and services, and then I upload those onto the database. And obviously, there's someone on the other side that looks at that, and we typically have conversations of, X, Y, Z needs to be done, or we've done X, Y, Z, and we need something else to happen now, or we need your support. So to a degree, those are T. Rowe clients, and I speak to them, but not specifically about client investments or anything like that, because obviously I'm not allowed to have that exposure. But that's why I said, to a degree, in an indirect manner, I have exposure to clients and we all chat basically.
Cool. I've got 4 questions that are probably best aimed at yourself, Kavita, but a bit of detail around sort of early careers hiring. If we kick off, so can penultimate year master's students apply for the internship? Yes. I assume this is in relation to investments.
Yes, so penultimate master's students can apply for an internship. That's absolutely fine. Yes, simple answer is yes.
Cool. The next one is, You've mentioned the graduate program. Is technology the only area T. Rowe Price hires for? And again, I assume at graduate level.
So at the graduate level, at the moment today, yes, technology is the only area. We are doing some work, and James and I are actually working on this currently, that we are looking at other areas of the business, but that's currently not live. We may by kind of next September be able to be in a position to start an application process for grads in other areas of the business, but then that would be to join T. Rowe in September 23. Yeah.
I guess the only thing I'd add, just with that being said, for those sort of students who have had some sort of work experience, we do have some roles that we will hire graduates into that have had some working experience. If they've done a sandwich course at university, for instance, and they've spent a year in industry working at an asset management business, perhaps, or they've done summer internships, etc. There are certain areas that we would make full-time permanent hires that wouldn't be on a graduate program, so to speak, but would be a full-time member of staff.
James, can I just come in there quickly? Sorry, I just wanted to sound what you've just said there. I actually know two people that I worked with in the client reporting team. Again, one did he did mathematics at university, and then he went off to do a year in Australia, and then he came, and straight after that he came and joined us. And then another worked at Capital Group for a year, and then he joined us. And both of them have gone off to work as portfolio analysts, associates, and portfolio analyst team in investments. So it's not, you don't always have to come through just the graduate programs. There are, and they did that all within 3 years of just being here. So like I said, internal moves are not difficult, and you don't have to go through all the traditional routes of internships and graduate programs.
Thanks, Saeed. That's really helpful. Yeah, just to add to James's point, graduate roles aren't the only route into an entry-level position. I'd recommend that you do look at our website and look at our careers page, because we will advertise our positions there. So there may be some roles that your skill sets could apply to.
I think we've just answered the next one. Just on, is there a possibility for the investment graduate program in 2022? I guess the answer is no. Is that, Kavita?
Yeah, so it wouldn't be, at the moment, the investments route is through an internship program. The summer interns that are successful will then go on to be offered a permanent position, but we don't have another route in at the moment.
Cool. And the next one, as a student in a 1-year MBA course with 3.5 years work experience, am I allowed to apply to the summer internship program? Kavita, do you want to go? I mean, I might be able to help in terms of MBA hiring.
So we actually have an MBA program as well, which I didn't put on this deck because I wasn't sure if there would be MBA candidates interested, but we absolutely do have an MBA program, and that's probably the better route to consider. James, do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would suggest the MBA route would be the better route to consider. It kind of depends. I mean, our typical MBA hiring route is again, through an internship across a 2-year MBA course. So best advice on that one would actually be just to look at the website and look at the full-time positions. There wouldn't be entitlement for the investments internship, but either the MBA internship or full-time associate positions. The next question is what makes T. Rowe Price stand out from other investment management firms? Saeed, do you want to take this one?
I was hoping you'd say me. Do you know what I am going to say? I'm going to say culture. I know I haven't worked at many places, but from everyone that I've spoken to at T. Rowe Price, who have come from other avenues, have come from other firms, and again, versus people that I now know, like my peers that I went to school with and friends and family that are now in other various companies, I think culture is probably the one aspect that is a huge difference and definitely stands out for T. Rowe Price, especially during the time that we've just had, the last 18 months being working from home and COVID. I don't think there was, some people are saying, oh, we've got to go back to the office here. T. Rowe Price, the way we handled everything, from getting everyone home as quickly as possible, having everyone set up properly so that there was no interruptions, to making sure that this place was still running, and people still had options if, like, at the worst case scenarios. We even grew, I think Kavita, you guys can tell me, was it like 200 plus people that we ended up hiring over the last 18 months? I mean,
thereabouts, yeah.
Loads of firms were, cutting people out. I had loads of friends telling me, they've been given a redundant package and stuff like that. Whereas T. Rowe, I think it's in every function. It's not even in the core parts of it. It's in across the firm. That's something that the culture, at T. Rowe Price is so strong about. It's all about the people. You put the clients first, you put the people first, and everything just falls in line. And I think that's the biggest difference that you'll find that comparing us to any other firm. Culture is key here.
Anything you would add, Kavita, if you weren't allowed to say culture?
It's such a tough one because I think we are known for our culture, and I do various events like this, and we have speakers from all areas of the business, and everyone feels the same about our culture. So if I was to say what sets us apart other than our culture, can I say people? Is that the same thing? But we do have some great people who work with at T. Rowe. We have some really smart individuals. I feel like I've learned so much from the people that I work with, and I feel like I've got that more so from T. Rowe than I have from any other firm that I've worked at.
I definitely agree with that. I've learned more at T. Rowe Price than I learned at uni, to be fair.
Next question. What skills are key / makes you stand out for the Equity Research Summer internship position?
Yeah, I can answer that. So it's interesting, but I think some of the key skills that we're looking for when we're looking at the applicants and for the candidates that we're assessing are people that are essentially have got a passion for investing, because we've interviewed candidates who haven't really shown their passion, and I think it's really important in that particular role. We are interested in looking at people who are willing to take a risk, and that's also quite important for the investments role. And risk can be measured in lots of different ways, and it's not always in the conventional ways that you might think of. And also, I'd say it's important to try and show some of the things that you do, some of those extracurricular activities, display them on your CV, talk about them, because some of those things will really help to showcase some of the skills that you have that might be applicable to the role of an investor. And most importantly, be honest. When we interview people, we ask you a question, don't blag your way through the answer. If you don't know the answer, just say, these are things that we pick up on, and it's just important to really be honest and be yourself.
Yeah, I think I'll second that last point. Sorry, no, carry on.
I was just going to say, one of the biggest things that we often look for is people that have done plenty of research. There are so many books on investing out there. There's so much reading content out there that people can do in their own time, which genuinely does stand people above others, I think. And
any interest that you might have. So, as in list it on your CV if you have decided to do some of your own investing, have you kind of joined the Bitcoin craze? Have you, read some books? List those on your CV. Are you part of an investment society at university or some sort of club outside of university that is investments related? If there is anything that you can list in your CV that's relevant, then do.
Perfect. Tips for maximising first year at university. I assume this is work related. I think, as Kavita's just mentioned, being involved, and if this is with a view to, looking at your career, being involved in societies that are going to give you an insight into areas of your career that are, if you want to work in finance, joining the finance club or joining the investing club. But equally, having quite a rounded background is, I think, something that you gain great value out of in later life. If you're interested in sports, do that. If you're interested in the arts, be involved in that sort of thing. But try and spread yourself across a variety of different areas and really find what you're interested in. From a work perspective, I don't know whether you are self-selecting modules or whether those are selected for you in your first year, but my view is always to try and keep as much breadth as possible, and then you can always narrow in your latter years, or if you choose to do a master's. I'm not personally, I didn't go into university with a plan as to what I wanted to do after university, and so for me it was about understanding what interests me, and then kind of refining that in the latter years. Kavita, Saeed, any thoughts?
I've got a really odd one.
Go on.
It's not odd, but it's something that someone once said to me, and at the time I was just like, don't be crazy. But it's, go look for a job and try to find the job description and just read it and see what they're looking for, and then you sort of know, like they said, begin with the end in mind. And it's one of those things where if you're struggling to find out what to do or how to look good, job descriptions are made because that's what the ideal candidate are looking for. It won't have everything that you need to be there, but it's a good start if you're especially in your first year. You do something where, and if you don't understand anything on the job description, at least it's a way for you to look at and say, well, let me research about that. That's clearly something that they need or want me to do. So it's something worth spending, some of your time, free time, or whenever you're not doing sports or joining a club or going to a club. I know what university is like, but I wouldn't be encouraging anything like that. But yes, just try to begin with the end in mind, essentially.
Cool. Next question, Kavita, is will the 2022 internship be in person or virtual?
It will be in person. We're starting to do more in-person things. We're now back in the office, and it's great to be around people and with people. So we're certainly looking forward to doing the next internship in person. I'll answer. Sorry, go on.
Do you want to answer the next one?
Yeah. So I can see it says, can a student doing masters in business analytics apply for the internship or for the direct graduate roles in T. Rowe Price? So firstly, in terms of your subject, we don't discriminate on your subjects. We recognise that people might not necessarily know when they, at the age of 18, when they pick their degree, you're not necessarily going to know that actually you want to be an investor. So we're not looking for applications from students from specific degrees. We have hired interns and associates from varying degree backgrounds. So please don't be put off by thinking that you have to have done a technology degree to apply to a tech program or a finance degree to apply to the investment. We certainly don't discriminate on that. In terms of the applications, again, for our internships, it is for students in their penultimate year of degree, and for the graduate programs, then at the moment it is only technology, so it's for students who have completed a degree or masters. I'll also talk about the next one, which is the format of the assessment centre for the summer internships. What are we hoping to see in participants? So the format typically involves some one-to-one interviews with some of the business, and then there tends to be a group activity, which is essentially, well, I won't go into details of what the activity is, and that group will then present following that activity, and they'll present to a group of people, including some of the other attendees of the assessment centre. It tends to be an all-day event. It is quite fun, and I think I mentioned some of the things that we really do look out for. So again, yourself, be honest, show your passion for investing, or for, you know, if it's for the technology internship, show your passion for technology. Why are you interested in those areas? And, you know, let us see that. And one of the key things that's really important to us is collaboration. It's one of our core values. It's something that we live and breathe at Rowe. And if you're not a team player, then Rowe won't be the right place for you. And if you are a team player, then showcase that at an assessment centre.
Kavita, there are a few more sort of questions on the detail around internships and graduate positions.
Yeah, so just to clarify, the only graduate role available in 2022 is in technology. Currently, yes, that's right. But again, just to reiterate the point that James made earlier, in that you don't have to only apply to graduate programs, you can apply to our open positions if your skill sets apply. So don't be put off thinking that there's not a graduate program available, because there might be other work for you. The next question, just to confirm, as a master's student, can I apply to one of your internships? I think I answered this. If you're in your penultimate year, then yes, you can. The application process for the internship. So at the moment, we work with the Bright Network. They manage our application process. So you would apply through them. The process involves a telephone screening. There might be a test of some sort, depending on what internship you've applied for. So there could be a technical test, or there could be a numerical reasoning test. And then there tends to be a video interview as well. And then following the video interviews, those that are successful will come on to do an assessment centre. Is a video interview and telephone interview competency or technical for the equity research internship? So the interviews tend to be competency based. We don't ask any technical questions at that stage. We also recognise that people won't necessarily have technical expertise at these kind of for investment positions. So it's really more competency and your ability. So again, just a reminder that we're looking for people who show passion, and we're looking at things like how you think and how that might fit into the role of an investor. So we've got 2 minutes to spare, and then I think the webinar will close. It looks like we've answered all the questions. If there are any more, please do submit them now. What I will also say is, well, I think we've been ending these skill sessions by asking everyone, so I'm asking this to James and to you, Saeed, in one word, please can you tell us what you wanted to be when you were growing up? So when you were a child, what did you think? I'll go first. Hairdresser.
Fireman.
I'm going to say something and you're going to laugh, and I promise you, by the time I got to 16, it flew out of my head. For a very long time, I wanted to be an accountant.
My husband,
don't ask me why.
Nothing wrong with that.
But I had an uncle who was an accountant, and he was the coolest guy I ever met. But after that, yeah, I did a week. I did 2 days with Deloitte. Went out the window.
Well, I'm conscious that we're coming to an end now, and I think the recording is going to finish. So we hope you enjoyed getting to know more about Rowe. Thank you to you, Saeed, for joining.
No, thank you for having me.
And for those that are interested in applying to our investments internship programme, application open now, the Bright Network. And those that are interested in technology, those applications will be open later this month. People have been asking about the recordings. All of our sessions are recorded and they're added to the Skills Workshop website after this session, so you can go back and have a look. And you can also register for any of the upcoming sessions. There's 17 more firms to go. So I think tomorrow there'll be Alpha Real Capital. They are a specialist real assets manager focused on secure income strategies across UK and Europe. So you can find out more there. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.